Welcome to the channel. This is Patty's Aquatics, and I'm Patty. So what I want to do today is I want to do another installment in my series of videos, The Truth About Dirty Tanks. Now, if you hadn't seen them, my first one, which I'll link above, was the downfalls, where I talk a little bit about some of the downfalls of a dirty tank, some things that don't get talked about a lot. And then my latest one was water changes, really trying to explain, in my opinion, why dirty tanks need less infrequent water changes compared to, say, a traditional setup. Now, in this one, what I really want to talk about is, I hear it a lot when people talk about dirty tanks and they don't understand it so much, is that you cannot rescape a tank once you set it up. Once you initially set up that dirty tank, you can't move plants around. However you do it, that's the way it's got to be. So I want to talk about that a little bit because, well, for example, I have a tank that I just tore apart, and I want to show you exactly what I did. So this is that tank that I spoke of. This is my hexagon tank, and it used to be full of Vallisneria, Dorsagittaria. It was very thick. You couldn't see through the back. I'll show some footage of that now. So really, it always comes that question of, you cannot rescape one of these tanks. Once you set them up, that's the way it's got to be. Now, there are some truths to that. Now, obviously, when you set one of these dirty tanks up, you're looking more for a long-term commitment, long-term escape forward, because these are a tank that you want to let mature and go over time. But sometimes things change. Sometimes you want to get different fish. Maybe those fish don't really work with the type of plants or setup you currently have. Maybe you just want to change things up. In my case, well, I had a fish swap, and this tank was completely and utterly filled with guppies, and I needed to get them out of there, and the best way to do it was to remove all these plants. And I was getting kind of bored with Rescape in this one, so I wanted to do something different. So it was the perfect opportunity. Now, what issues can you have by rescaping a dirted aquarium? You know, I'll show you some of my other ones. I did this one too not too long ago. When you rescape them, you're going to make a mess, bottom line. That is just the plain truth about it, no way around it. Now, how much of a mess? Well, that's really going to depend on what type of plants you have in there. If you just have some little stem plants that are easy to pull out, it's not going to be that bad. If you have some big swords or some big crypts, yeah, you're going to have a muddy mess in your tank. I wish I had some footage of it, but you would have like dirt just starting to bellow out along the bottom, and then it gets into the water column, and then it turns completely brown to black. So what do? Well, you do water changes. You clean that dirt up, and you get it cleaned up, and then you get the cap that you have fixed if you need to replenish any of the sand or gravel or whatever you're using, and then you're good to go again. So I'm not in the mindset that you can't do water changes under any circumstance. I do water changes as maintenance, but in these situations as well, yeah, you do some water changes. You clean up that mess. You clean up all that extra detritus and dirt and everything that's floating around, and then you can start over. So that is where I'm at today. So yes, you can do rescapes in these dirty tanks. They are, yes, like I said, something that you want to try to keep and set up, and have that research and mindset of what you want to do initially when you first set it up. But as these things go on from years to years, sometimes you're thinking of what you want to do. Your vision might change for what you want for those tanks. Like I said, the fish might change for what you want to put in them, and maybe you just want to change the whole thing up. So it's completely okay, as long as you're prepared to do a little cleanup and mess and research and pre-planning with it. Now, for this one, like I said, I pulled all that Vallisneria out, and I see a little tiny guppy in there yet swimming around that I got to get out of there. Anyway, so what I did, I wanted to put some other plants in here that were similar to this cryptocorn tank. Well, you're going to see the plants I already got because they're in here, but I got them from Aquarium Co-op, one of my favorite places to get plants. And what I did is I ordered some swords and some cryptocorn. So what I got was a red melon sword, a red flame sword, a Radican marble queen sword, And then I got 2 cryptocorn. I'm going to murder this name, undulata crypts. That's what I plan on putting in this tank. Again, it's going to be one of my versions of a low maintenance aquarium, very similar to this one once these plants come out of here. It's something that I'm never really going to have to trim. And all I'm going to have to do to maintain it is just do my maintenance water changes, and we'll see from there. So that being said, let me throw these plants quick into this tank, and we'll take it from there. All right, so I got those plants from Aquarium Co-op out of my crypt tank and into their new home here. I got the 2 big swords in the back, the smaller one in the middle, and then the 2 crypts on each side. And I put a little bit of rock and little stick at the bottom and front for now. What am I going to put in here fish-wise? Well, that's to be determined. I have that swap meet I mentioned earlier tomorrow from when I'm filming this. I have a few ideas of what I'd like to put in here, but I got to see what's there. Otherwise, I will be ordering something. But I also want to talk about the water is cloudy, and that's to be expected. Now, not only will you make a mess when you pull plants out of that substrate, you can also make a mess putting them back in. Now, let me explain there too. Now, I always preach and tell you in my videos that organic material, that organic matter, the stuff that breaks down within your aquarium, that works its way down through the sand cap and then down to the dirt to be able to feed that dirt to feed your plants. Well, I found that to be true working on these 2 tanks lately. Whenever I stick my hand down in this soil now, after I've cleaned it off completely like you've seen before, I put those plants in, and all that mold and detritus worked its way and kicked it back up into the water column, because that's what's in the sand. Because guess what? It's working its way down through that sand to the soil layer. So that is in fact happening. So that is another fact check, I guess, that yes, that does work its way down into that soil layer through the sand. So expect to have a little bit of a mess after you put new plants in your aquariums too, especially if they're a mature aquarium. Like this one's like 4 or 5 years old. So it's definitely been feeding that soil layer over the last few years now. So 100% you will get a little bit of mess and cloudy water and whatever else from rescaping your aquariums even after you pull those plants out. But you know what, like I said, 100% you can rescape a dirted aquarium no matter what. You know, I'm still going to be an advocate for what I talk about as far as doing research on the type of plants you put in your aquariums, so that you know what you're getting into, that you know how big they get, you know where you're placing them, so you don't have to rescape your aquariums. But like I mentioned before, there's lots of variables behind why you may want to. Maybe you got different fish. Maybe, like you said, like me, I just have a different vision for this aquarium after all these years, and I want to try something different. And that happens, and it's okay. That's why it's our hobby. That's why we like to experiment and try different things. At least speaking for myself, I do. So that's where this came into play. So don't be afraid to rescape in a dirted aquarium if you've had it for a while, or even if you didn't and you want to try something different. Don't be pigeonholed to what you just put in there, because the beauty of this is there are so many endless opportunities and different things that you could try, and it's fun to try different things. So that being said, I really hope you enjoy the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And I'm also offering memberships to my channel, so hit that join button if you're interested. And as always, remember to think outside the box and take a step back into nature. I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.